What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? This is your boy, the champ, back for the 33rd episode of the Cabrini Kid podcast with my wonderful co-host. To my left, I have Mr. Perkins to you on Instagram, Mr. KP Keenan Perkins. Say what's up to the people.
Brr, 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 brr. What's good? What's good, everyone? Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday.
And then right below the both of us, we have Miss Kadriana Heishman. Say what's up to the people.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
We're going to have to get you a nickname. I got a nickname. KP got a nickname.
No.
KH don't really roll off the tongue that well. So we're going to have to. What was it? Was it Katie?
Yes. Yes.
He said no.
There's like two people from my childhood that still call me that.
Okay, so let's get rolling today. We got a good topic we're gonna kick it off with. We're gonna start off with something that people have, I guess, really taken a notice to. I would say probably over the last maybe 5 to 10 years, and it's really been a big topic of conversation, especially in the dating world. Hookup culture. What does hookup culture mean to you?
All right. So hookup culture, that is when people, just casually go on Tinder, meet somebody, hook up or have sex, and then no feelings, and you move on. You do that with multiple people. You're honest about it, and you just hook up with a bunch of people. That's the hookup culture, I guess.
KP, what about you?
I mean, I think she hit the nail on the head. So I think that's the prime. I think that's the prime definition of hookup culture. There's not much dating involved. If there is, I mean, I guess the other term is situationship, which basically is a part of hookup culture, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Hookup culture is, I mean, I think in the world nowadays, I think the dating pool has pee in it, and it's tough out here for men and women, and so I think that either A, you are going to some degree partake in hookup culture, whether it is hooking up with one person in particular, which is still hooking up. I mean, you guys aren't together, right? Mm-hmm. Or you are going to participate in those toys that you have in that bedroom,
that bottom drawer
next to your bed. You're going to participate in those particular activities with the things that are in those drawers, or you are going to, maybe have multiple partners here and there. I think in hookup culture, to some degree, everyone is going to fall in that one of those three particular categories.
See, I don't really think there is a such thing as hookup culture, because I don't think it's any different than what I think people have been experiencing as dating anyway. If you're saying, well, there's just so many people out now that want to just have sex, it's always been like that. But now, and Kadriana, you mentioned this, there are outlets specifically for those people. Mm-hmm. Like Tinder was specifically for that.
Yeah.
Now people get on there obviously and meet their soulmate, and they fall in love off somebody met off Tinder, but that the original purpose of that was just for hookups. Mm-hmm. because they knew that there was a market for that out there. So I feel like it's always been hookup culture, but I also I never thought that meant that you couldn't find your person. You just, if you're a woman, you just had to weed through the guys who were out for just one thing, quote unquote. And if you were a guy, you had to weed through the women who were just using you for meals.
I think it's been normalized. So I do agree. I think we've always had the hookup culture, but I think now it's become, hence the name, it's part of the culture. It's part of the dating culture now, where some people, that is how they justify sex with no strings attached and multiple different, intimate partners. I personally don't agree with it. I think it's trash. I think it's terrible for human connection, but a lot of people seem to do it, and it doesn't seem to bother them.
But what if you think it's trash? But what happens if you're in a part of a hookup culture, but you think you don't know that you're a part of the hookup culture? But
that's happened. 100%. That I actually wrote about this. That happened to me. I was against it, didn't even think about it because I didn't know the hookup culture existed until after I had already gotten brought into it without my consent. He was living the hookup culture. I was just thinking, oh, maybe we don't need titles. We're adults. I had been out of the dating game for a while.
He lives a private life and don't want to post too much.
He didn't post a lot. And then I found out me and like 7 other women were part of his hookup culture.
No.
So yeah, but that's why I just think it's getting carried away. I think people use that to kind of justify detachment and being just cold in relationships. I feel like having sex with no strings attached all the time, eventually you're gonna go numb. It's like watching too much porn. Eventually sex is gonna get old. It's not gonna have the same like thrill it used to have.
But isn't that part of like women's sexual liberation, is having as much sex as they feel guys do and get applauded for it without getting stigmatized for it?
For some women, yes, but I think in the past 10 years, a lot of women have justified certain behaviors as, oh, this is just freedom, me being open and free. And when you look at it, it's not healthy, regardless of how you package it up and tell yourself to justify it. It's not healthy.
Terry, what's up, Terry? T. Riley checking in. Tequila Terry says you was just in the rotation. You were top 3 though.
Thanks, Terry. I don't think there's anything empowering about just allowing multiple people to experience you. And I think
so when Amber Rose had the walk, when was that? That was what
year was that? I don't know. It's been a while now. Was that like 2014, 2015 time frame?
That long ago? I feel like it was.
I remember I think I was in Hawaii then.
Okay, so when Amber Rose had that, and so many women participated in that, you feel like that was wrong?
For me, I don't agree with that. If that is what they need to feel empowered, more power to them. But I can't wrap my head around how that's empowering. How I gotta choose my words wisely on this one. I don't see, because it's sex with no feelings. And yeah, I think everybody should have power over their sexuality. But eventually, I think we have to sit with, is that really empowering, or are we numbing ourselves? Are we doing that for other reasons? Like, I don't think that women just wake up, you know what? It's empowering. I'm going to go sleep with the block. I don't think so. I think there's other things there.
What do you think about that woman? I want to say this was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, who slept with,
Oh,
was it a hundred or was it
Bonnie
a thousand?
Blue. Yeah, you talking about Bonnie Blue?
Was
how
it a
many?
thousand?
Yeah, it was 1,000. I don't think she ended up doing that.
No, she did it.
Oh,
Didn't she end up in the hospital or something? Or am I thinking of a different
I think you
story?
think
oh
it's
no,
somebody
oh
different.
no, Bonnie Blue's.
It's
Bonnie
crazy
Blue
that
was
there's
bad.
multiple, but
Yeah.
um. So what do you what I well, I don't want to necessarily say what example, but what impact do you feel like that has um on culture, on dating, on perceptions? And you have daughters, right? So
Do
you know
teenagers.
what impact do you feel like that has on them? Because obviously they see their mom's not like that,
Mm-hmm.
but then this lady's in the news on every channel.
Mm-hmm. I think because I do have daughters and I have a teenager, and my teenager tells me some of the stuff that even her friends do, and it's clearly coming from things that they're seeing online. I think that's why it's important to have these conversations with your kids, even your boys, because just because you see it online and it's glamorized, we're not seeing what happens when they go home. We're not seeing the doctor's appointments. We're not seeing all the other stuff and like the daddy issues or mommy issues that may have gotten them to that point. What you see online, it's not real life. And I think one of the most valuable things we have is to like protect our bodies, protect ourselves, and have the right to choose. They're choosing, yeah, but at what cost? At what cost? There's other ways to feel good about yourself. There's other ways to be empowered sexually. I'm all about sexual empowerment, but not in that sense. What would you tell your son? You have a son. It's a whole different conversation.
Well, we actually we kind of had this conversation prematurely because he's 10, and
Mhm.
we hadn't even got to that point. Like I remember him telling me about this girl said she was gonna kiss him at school, and I was teasing him. I'm like, oh, she gonna kiss, and so we really hadn't even got to that point about having that conversation. But I remember when he was like 7 or 8, and we were at like the grocery store or something like that, and he looks at me, he goes, Dad, and I say, yeah, what's up, buddy? He goes, how am I supposed to respect women when they don't respect themselves? And
Mm,
this is what he literally asked me that at like 7 years old,
yeah.
right? So even at that age, he can see girls in his class.
Yeah.
In Arizona, it's the climate is a little different, right? It's spaghetti straps,
Yeah.
booty shorts every day, all day for everybody, right? Um, and I told him, I said, well, you're not in control of what someone else thinks of themselves, but when you get old enough to start dating, you want to make sure you find a woman that you feel like respects herself. And you can kind of tell in his little mind, he's trying, the gears are turning or whatever, but that kind of turned a light bulb on for me where I was like, he's already seeing that.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, when I was his age, the older people in our generation, like our grandparents and maybe our parents, will be like, well, don't hang out with that girl. She's fast.
Yes.
Term
Yes.
back then, she fast.
Yes. She's fast. Yep.
It's a different term now, but they knew then what bad influences were at that time. And they didn't even have all the things to deal with that kids have to deal with now. So, I mean, it's difficult, but I would just tell him that, as he continues to get older, as he continues to have, certain experiences, what your idea of what a woman looks like who respects herself, is okay. You're allowed to say, like, I want a woman that doesn't show much skin, or I want a woman that shows her entire body. Whatever it is that you think is okay, that's your decision. You're entitled to that. But you also have to realize that people that you date are also going to be a reflection of you. You know, if I'm home and he's like, Dad, can I bring my girlfriend over for dinner? She comes in and she's dressed to what I think is inappropriate, I'm going to say something. I have never, me and him have never had a conversation where I've said, look at that girl, she's dressed inappropriately. Look at her, she's dressed inappropriately. But I've also instilled certain values in him about how to carry himself, how to dress, how he should dress, how he should take care of himself, and things like that. So, as a parent, I think that probably translates to my dad's teaching me to take care of myself this way. I want to find a woman that takes care of herself that way as well. But they're growing up in a completely different world than we did. You know, like we didn't have social media and all those things. So
I think that's why it's so important for us as parents to be involved. That's why it's important for parents to have these conversations, because if you're not teaching your kids at home, they're learning somewhere else. And you don't want them learning from their little friends or YouTube or anything like that, because that's when parents like, I don't understand why they would do that. Well, what's going on at home? Where are the values? You know, what are you guys teaching at home? And a lot of parents don't even realize it. What we do is so important. Otherwise, they're on their own.
Yeah, because like if you go, like if I was to take my son on a field trip with his class and there's 30 kids in his class, statistics say probably 2 of these girls are going to get pregnant at like 14 or 15 years old. Maybe more than that. A couple of them might get pregnant at 18. A couple of them might get pregnant at 19 or 20. You know, so it's like I said, they're growing up in a completely different world than we did. Which is crazy to think.
They got more influence.
We assume that times were never going to change, but they did.
Yeah, they're exposed to a lot more than we ever were exposed to. We just didn't. You know, our parents, if they wanted to insulate us, they easily could when we were kids. For now, it's hard unless you're Amish or something.
KP, what do you feel like as a young strapping young man? What do you feel like the impact on dating has? What impact have you experienced in dating when it comes to, I guess, like a change in mentalities around sexuality and like freedom from the time you started dating at, 16 up until 35?
I think that women nowadays are a lot freakier comparatively to, well, actually, I kind of take that back. I think it just really depends. I think the women nowadays, they've seen a lot, but also those women nowadays are grown up. And I would say like the most sexiest age range, I would say, that are like the freakiest, I would say is probably between like 37 to like 52. They like to get down. They like to get down. Now, again, back in the day, I mean, yeah, girls were, promiscuous, but I think nowadays, those girls that were maybe promiscuous back in the day, I don't think that they are probably, I don't know. I think it's the same.
You don't think it's changed, really?
Nah, I think you can bring out the right freak in any girl. It just depends on the guy. You know, every girl. I mean, there are some women out there who just naturally just love sex, but there are some women who will go the extra mile or do the extra things. You know, when they are really into someone, regardless if they're together or not.
Yeah, and I feel like I can agree with you, on that, because I think that, and this also ties into something that Kadriana said earlier, is that it's less. It's not that it's new; it's just less taboo now. I don't think that it necessarily means that women love it more now than they used to. It's just more socially acceptable to talk about it.
Yes.
More socially acceptable to experience it and have other people know you're experiencing it.
And enjoy it and not feel guilty about it.
and enjoy it and not feel guilty about it.
And a woman that what they'll be quick to say that I don't need this. I got my toy.
No, it's not the same.
I know.
We know. We know that.
Trust me, I know. It's definitely not the same. But then, those women those women will be like, I got my toys, and my toys can do more than what, a man can, or whatever, blah, 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 blah. But the toys are cool and all. I understand they're very technically advanced nowadays. I get it. But at the same time, there is nothing like the feeling of some fresh womb, for real. Like, so I can't,
Really?
I can only imagine what you guys feel comparatively to what, the man feels. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah. You lost me at the fresh womb.
Even Tupac said it. Even Tupac said it. We got Torian checking in. Torian said, "Come on, KP."
Torian, come on. It's just because I said womb that was my funny way of podding. You know what I mean? I could have been more very aggressive with the words, but I put a little spin on it, a little KP sauce on it. Yeah, a woman they'll be quick to say that. That drives me crazy.
Kristen, we got Kristen checking in. I've known Kristen for years. Thank you for checking in and commenting. She says the older women in that age bracket are grown and sexy. We are more comfortable in our bodies and less inhibition. With the right partner, immaturity comes with insecurity.
Yes. I think that's she nailed it right there.
Yeah, I agree. They like to get down. I'm telling you, they like to get down. Boy. I'm being serious. It's crazy. For the right person, for the right person, for sure. Yes. They won't, and that's especially like a woman in their 40s. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some sleazos that are in their 40s, but for the most part, they're not gonna be, like having a lot of partners. So even if you find one that is just
you mean simultaneously?
Yeah, simultaneously. Some. I didn't say all. I said some.
I think I agree with KP, because the older I get, I have no desire to experience new guys. Like one person, that's good enough.
Yeah. Now, like I said, there are some sleazos out there, but there are some women out there who, in that 40s bracket, they would, even if that dude is not their boyfriend, they want someone consistent who is willing to spend time with them and lay pipe here and there, go on trips. That's the kind of shit that I'm talking about. Like, sign me up.
Right, but do you feel like that comes from a certain level of dating exhaustion?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to experience a new guy because I don't want to put in the effort to get to know a new guy. I would rather just depend on Old Faithful.
But if Old Faithful is what's good, I mean,
but is Old Faithful good or is Old Faithful serviceable?
I mean, I don't really know if that's. I genuinely think that you can have a healthy friends with benefits relationship if we're continuing to talk about hookup culture. I think that you can, if you have two adults who communicate expectations prior to the hooking up, granted, sometimes things go left, but nonetheless, I think you can have a healthy hookup with someone in their 40s, so on and so forth. I truly do believe that. I've done it.
And what happened to it?
Either it's probably phased out. It doesn't mean we're not still cool.
Right, but it faded out for a reason.
Yeah, why did it fade out?
Well, yeah, sometimes you know, sometimes you just like communication just starts to fade a little bit. You gotta go away for a little bit. You gotta go to your separate corners sometimes, A couple months later, that's when you skirt. Both ways. It's happened both ways.
But why not just be in a relationship with that person? If you're gonna be consistent with each other anyways, why not just date?
But if that's not what both people want, then
because that goes back to what I was saying before. Is it good or is it serviceable? Because it sounds like settling. I'll just take this for right now because I can get it and it's easy. For men and women. As opposed to I'm a holdout for what I really want. It's Friday and I know she'll come through.
Isn't that what most typical interactions are?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're just only hooking up and dating with no intention, yes. Then yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But how do you know when someone is true in this day and age? You truly don't know when someone is dating with intention or not.
I mean, you have the conversations, and yes, you're right.
I can tell you my uncle is Stephen Harvey. Does that mean that you're going to ever meet Steve Harvey? No,
but I would like to assume that most adults, especially over the age of 35, are not lying about their intentions.
People do it all the time. Okay, so what if my intention was that at the beginning, but then the more and more I got to know you, my intention decided to just smash, and I still like you, but I'm not going to tell you that.
But you should, and that's where I think.
No, I'm not saying me personally. I'm not saying me personally. I'm saying there are men who won't tell you that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they should, because.
Are you agreeing with me? There are men out there that won't tell.
Yes, it's happened to me. So I definitely know there are men out there that won't tell you, but I don't understand. Just tell. You're not going to hurt my feelings by telling me that you don't see this going anywhere.
But why would they tell you when that dries up their situation?
Oh, see, that's selfish. Like I would rather.
I'm just trying to tell you that's why they wouldn't tell you.
So selfish. I don't know. That's really selfish. I'd rather tell somebody, hey, I don't see this going anywhere, than to lead them on, because you're playing with somebody's emotions at that point.
Not if you're just hooking up.
But if you're hooking up and you changed it, like if you talked about potentially being together and then you decide, I could do better, but you don't tell that person, that's wrong.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. But what I'm saying is, most women say, or I don't hear most dudes saying that, but most women say they want someone to date with intention.
Yes.
Every dude has not every dude, I take that back. Most dudes have the intention of dating when they go into probably a date, or that potential person could be someone that they would potentially date, right? And then something in the mix changes to some degree. Now, if there hasn't been any physical interactions, I would say the man is more likely to have that conversation quicker than if there has been physical interactions.
Jojo says, "Oh my God, relax."
Relax on what? She's talking about something that probably happened like 20 minutes ago.
Torian said, "I don't know about that. I feel like for women, and let me know if I'm wrong, they are more emotional, so sex complicates things, even if it starts off as just casual sex." And I agree with that, because I don't think that women see sex the same way as men.
No.
But I think that women try to convince themselves that they do. And they say, I could think just like a guy. I can just go out and hook up with somebody. But women aren't built like that. So the next morning when he bounced and she's like, man, he didn't want to stay for breakfast. Women's minds are already like that. So it's a lifetime of unprogramming.
Man, I don't know about that. Women nowadays are crazy. I had a girl one time kiss me on my forehead before she left. I said, what? I said, what? Damn.
Kristen said, maybe it's a settling culture and not a hookup culture. Yeah, I think that there are parties on both sides who are settling for just that. Because I think that, especially when you look at the ratios, right? And I know we've talked about this before. It's like 7 women for every guy. So for a woman to say, well, I could have a dude sometimes, or I could never have a guy, I'll probably take the dude sometimes. That's settling. That's not freedom. I feel like it's settling.
It is settling, and ladies, don't settle. It's not worth it. It's not worth it, because when you're settling, you're wasting your time and you're blocking a potentially good match. You're sidelining yourself when you settle. But I could see people doing that. I know a lot of girls who do that. I've known women who have done that a lot, where they don't want to be alone. And I think that's where a lot of people, instead of just admitting, they either don't like being alone, or they don't want to do the work to have to sit solo. And so they'll take breadcrumbs, they'll take a hookup culture before they have to be alone. It's sad.
And I don't believe that men and women were built to be alone.
I don't either.
I think that everyone would rather be with someone, and if they had their choice, it would be a good someone for them who would be fruitful and long lasting. But when you can't find that person, sometimes you download an app, start swiping, and next thing you know, you got a guy saying, I really enjoy, spending time with you. I'm not looking for anything serious. And you convince yourself, well, maybe I'm not really either, and this will do for now.
Yeah. I do think a lot of women, like KP, you said, a lot of women that are okay with it. I do think they've either been burned, or that's just what they tell themselves so that they try not to catch feelings. But I guarantee most of the women that you have had casual sex with they've caught feelings. They may never say it.
Yeah, of course. So, like
when you have a certain performative caliber.
It's Keinon we're talking about here. I mean, it's not even, put the sex part aside, I'm not all that stellar in that department. I
mean, okay, so let's transition to a piggyback topic. One of our viewers mentioned that she has seen a large shift in the level of effort from men in the dating world. A shift to the mind frame of, I want to experience it before I commit to a date. I want to experience you before I decide to commit to a full-fledged night out on the town.
No, that's what those 2 weeks of talking before your first date, that's where you get to know the experience of me before. But you're taking, no. So they want the women to go to their house?
So wait. She said that she said that men are literally like asking or making a statement. Well, before I commit to a date, I would like for you to come over here, or I can come over there. Let's just hang out for a little bit.
Oh no.
Before.
No.
Amy, thank you for checking in. Amy says maybe we should try reverse Handmaid's Tale. Yes, she said guys are saying let's hang out at the crib first before we go out on a date.
Oh. No, that is so. I'm not a guy, so you guys are gonna have to correct me on this one. But if a guy says that, I don't think he's really feeling you like that. He's just trying to hook up. Because a guy who's really feeling you is going to want to take you out. He's going to want to be seen with you. He's going to want to wine and dine you or whatever. No, he's just trying to hook up with you. So that's part of the hookup culture. But he just doesn't want to say what he's trying to do.
Well, my response to her saying that was, and the condensed version was, you haven't convinced him that you're worth it.
100%. Yeah.
And really the overarching theory behind that is that men will go to the end of the earth for the things that they feel are worth it. Mm-hmm. Right. We joke about women getting flown out to places and a guy spending, I knew, and well, still know, but I knew guys that were like professional athletes, and they would spend 10 grand to fly a girl out just for the weekend, but they knew it was worth it. Mm-hmm. They knew what the end goal was. She was going to get to go somewhere. Maybe she's not going to get to go in the near future. She's going to get to have a good time, get to hang out, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then he gets what he's sent for. Guys will go stand in line on Jordan release day for 5 hours, if not longer, to get a pair of shoes because they feel like it's worth it, and spend $300-400 because to them it's worth it. So you can't tell me that he's not showing you that he doesn't think you're worth it.
Or he's just lazy and he's not worth it. As soon as they start
asking, don't flip it on him.
No, but I'm just saying, for the person, if guys are doing it, they're not worth your time. They're lazy daters, and if you entertain it, that's what you'll keep attracting.
Torian said yes or no to that. Sometimes a man doesn't want to pay $300 on a woman that might not even give you a second date.
He doesn't have to. There's coffee shops. You can take her to the park. There's the movies. There's so many other things that are cheap if that's what his thing is.
Yeah, I personally think that if a dude, and I said this to David, if a dude asks a girl,
did you freeze?
Is he frozen? I think he froze.
Yeah. Like...
We're like, Ann. Yeah. We didn't hear you. You froze. If a dude asks a girl.
I said if a dude asks a girl to go over to his crib on the first date, I think that is crazy.
It's disrespectful. It's so disrespectful.
I would never, ever, 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 ever do that. I would never do that. I would never do that.
You would never ask. What if she offered?
If she offered to come over?
Right.
That's dangerous. I feel a little suspicious of that.
What if you say, hey, let's go out? And she's like, nah, you know what? I was just thinking, let's just chill at your crib and watch a movie. And
you're getting robbed. You're 100% getting robbed.
No, I would think that too. I'm a real N-word, so I would definitely make sure I put stuff away.
He said, "Put stuff away.
Put
the watches away." Saying offer layup.
Yeah, if she's offering to come over to the crib on the first date, oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, now would you couch that one? Because I know you'd probably lose a little bit of respect.
Feed me. She's getting fed. She's getting fed to the couch for sure. Yeah, for sure. But I may not. I may be a gentleman and not even try anything, to be honest with you.
Good.
But I would know mentally that, or at least I would think that if it went there, then I know that it could potentially go there. So I would definitely, Jimmy rig, literally.
He's stashing around the couch.
Jimmy rig my apartment, just in case. So I'm in an arm's reach, and just in case, So, but yeah, if she offers, then yeah, I'm gonna think that it's potentially gonna go down. That means the ball's in my court potentially, and so I'm playing offense. Either I could potentially try something, or I could potentially not. I would definitely read the room and vibe and see how the vibe was going. But if we've had conversations, like, prior, and she's just like, I know we were supposed to go have dinner, but I want to see you, so I'm gonna come over. Yeah, I'm like, all right, I'm say.
But do you feel like you lose a little bit of respect for her?
No, to me, I think to some degree, I think that's sexy.
Geneva said he wouldn't try any moves, but I'd make sure I trim up. I think she mean manscape.
Oh no, I'm always trimmed up, Geneva. Hey, Geneva, I stay ready, so I don't have to get ready, boo boo. I stay ready, just in case. You never know. I might have to hit the crib for lunch. You never know. What you shaking your head for, Kadriana? What you ain't trying to get smashed on lunch or what? You ain't trying to you won't want your man to say, "Hey, I'm coming over. Let me bend you over real quick."
Watch how quick she tell a lie.
Yeah,
come on, tell a lie.
Let me answer.
Come on, man.
Come on with the lie.
Yes. Tell me that's not sexy. Come on, let's stop it.
Yeah, but I would know my man. If it's some random guy that I met on the dating app and he's like, "Hey, come over," no, he's immediately getting blocked.
Well, no. I think I wasn't talking about.
I feel like you just took it to the extreme. Like,
yeah, she took
a stranger. Like that's.
I didn't even say a stranger. Of course.
Well, because I'm thinking if you haven't gone on a date yet, you don't know them, and they're coming over before you really know each other.
Well, you said the first 2 weeks is to get to know each other.
That's when you talk on the phone. That's when you get to know each other before the date. Like when she was saying these guys want, before they take her on a date, they want her to come over. No. So they can see if she's worth it. That's what the talking phase is for, to see if we're worth it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then
they say that's crazy. But is that the guy's fault or is that the girl's fault? Like, is it the guy's fault if he puts it out there and you say okay?
If you say okay,
it's your responsibility to set the standard,
that's on
right?
You. That's on. I think so. So if a guy says that, you have to nip that in the bud, because guys will do what you allow them to do. You guys love to test the boundaries to see what you can get away with when you meet women, and that's all they're doing. They're trying to see is she gonna let this slide, because I guarantee if she said no, you have to take me on a date, they'll schedule a date if they are really interested in getting to know her.
But let me ask you this. Do you think that said women would do that comparatively for some dudes, but not for others? Is that in the realm of possibility?
Yeah. There's always
so it's not a hard line in the sand.
It is, and it should be. I think it should be. I don't think you should ever first date at somebody's house. I think they should at least, like I said, coffee shop, if it's money, the park, dinner, something. Put a little bit of effort.
Why has got to be money? He didn't say. It's not that I don't have the $300 to spend. It's
guys who complain about spending money to take a girl out. It's about money. Because guys who have it like that, okay, if it works, it works. If not, they had a nice dinner. They're not going to stress about the cost or how much they invested in this girl for her to not come back. They're not going to care about that.
Well, but those are also the dudes that know they have to pay for it.
And they're okay with that.
You're right. They're okay. They know that if I didn't fork out, this girl would probably never talk to me. They're okay with knowing that.
That's not true. I think, if you're broken. I'm just saying, the guys who always complain that women are using them for money and this and that, they're usually men that don't have money like that. Because guys with money like that, you're not going to hear them nickeling and diming on dates. They're not.
But see, as a guy, I feel like it's never been about, it was never the money. It was, do I want to spend this on you? Like if I got $500 in my pocket, it's not that I don't have the $500. It's, do I want to spend half of it on you? And I'm not sure how this date's going to go.
So then play within your field. Take them somewhere where you don't have to even get close to that $500, and then you can see. I don't think it's fair to just say, I'm not sure, so I'm going to take you to my house. No. Every date doesn't have to be a lot of money. You could do whatever, but just that effort and that showing that you can make reservations or even make a date plan, take me somewhere. That's sexy. There's no effort in telling a woman to come to your house so you can get to know her before taking her on a date.
What if he's a personal chef and he says, I want to really cook you dinner tonight?
That's good, but you can cook literally me dinner a professional chef. You can cook me dinner after you take me somewhere else. It's a safety thing. It's just the principle for me. I'm not going to your house on the first date.
He's going to hold the roofie.
When he's at his house, I don't know what's going on in his house. He's in control, and that's dangerous when you don't really know somebody. Let's go somewhere where it's neutral and meet for the first time.
So it's less dangerous on the second date?
I don't even think I would do a second date. You don't go to people's house until you're really comfortable with them.
Okay, so when you really get comfortable, it's less dangerous. He could still be a serial killer.
He could be, but at least at that point, we've been dating. My friends know who you are. If something happens, something happens. There's risk in dating, period. Anytime you go on a first date, even if you go to a restaurant, there's always a risk. But I'm not taking that risk at your house. Not right away. I got to get to know you first.
Chevy said you can make PB&J at the crib. Torian said, Kadriana, that's not true. He said the issue is that in this day and age, the amount of dates people go on these days is just exhausting. It's swipe culture. Right. And I think that
sounds like a personal problem. If you're going on with so many dates, you got to ask yourself, why are none of these sticking? You can't blame every woman that you don't get to the second date and say she's using you for a meal. Eventually you have to ask yourself, what am I doing on these first dates to these women to make these women not want to go out with me again?
Or is it that the effort is always placed on the man? Because he's on the same dating app that you are. He's swiping during the day, just like you're swiping. You match with 10 dudes. He matches with 10 women. You're not expected to make plans for a date, but he is. And he's not going to get anywhere with those women unless even if he says, if he tells 5 of the 10, come to the crib. He tells the other 5, let's go out this week. He still made a plan to do something. Women don't have to do any of that. You just have to sit back and feel the offers.
Such a hefty number right away. Why is he dating that many people at once? You can't possibly get to know if you're going to connect with that many people. And then it is part of that, I feel, is part of being a man. There's nothing wrong with the man making plans. And if he needs help, ask your date. Hey, what would you like? Give me some suggestions. No, those are just excuses.
Amy said women will choose a bear in the wild and not a man to be alone with. I feel like that says more about y'all personal traumas than men. It does. This a wild animal that literally kills people. You're equating to every man being just as, if not more dangerous, is insane.
I think we talked about that before, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. We didn't go too in depth about it, but I think because I don't think you had heard about
that question.
Bear. Yeah, but there was a guy version. It was
the tree.
The tree. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But to the bear thing, because I think that's an exaggeration, but it is. You have a little boy. I have daughters. I do have to tell my daughters, you can't trust every male. And you probably tell your son that. But I think statistically speaking, more men have attacked women than women have attacked men in violence.
But I also can't raise my son and tell him, hey, just so you know, every woman's going to be afraid of you.
No, but you can teach him.
Give him a complex about himself.
Well, no, I think if you explain why some women are afraid of men, because not every woman is afraid of men, but there are some women, I think most of the women that I know, myself included, there's been times where men have been aggressive and done things that they had no business doing. I guarantee there's probably not as many of your guy friends or even you two that has happened where a woman has put your life in danger or done something that was against your will. So I do think you need to explain to your son that there are guys that are like that. Not every guy, and he doesn't need to feel a complex, but there's going to be women that he's going to meet that are going to be standoffish because they've experienced those types of guys.
But if these are women that are in his age bracket who haven't experienced that, but they're being led to believe by women who have experienced that the probability is more likely than not that something's going to happen to you. He has to bear the brunt of that.
No, because I don't. Just because it's happened to me, don't teach my girls to live in fear, but I teach them to be aware. They cannot be naive in life. They cannot assume, oh, he's nice to me right now, he's safe. No, that's how men, every guy starts off nice, and then
look at you. See, that's how they all start.
Well, a lot of the guys that have done things like that, I started off nice. I know mine started off like a charmer. So I think for teaching your son that does happen, that doesn't mean that he is a problem because he's a male, but he has to be, you got to teach him that emotional intelligence so he doesn't just judge women who might be a little more standoffish because of that.
But I feel like, I also feel like it would be wrong of me to teach him that he has to compensate for things that he hasn't done to women that he meets.
He doesn't.
Like, I don't think that he has to be overly.
He doesn't have to feel guilty, but he should be made aware.
No, not necessarily guilty, but like if he's out in the world dating, right, and he meets a woman and she says, well, I've dated 3 guys and they all were abusive and they all 3 of those relationships ended badly. That has nothing to do with him. He didn't date her and he didn't do any of those things to her. Now, does he have to be emotionally intelligent and realize that she's been through some things and she may have some triggers? Yes. But I also would rather him know that he needs to be looking for women who are healed from those things, as opposed to get into that situation and now you are trying to overcompensate for the things that the guys in her past did that don't have anything to do with you. I feel like there's two sides to that coin, especially like with kids, because we can tell our kids about our relationships and it might just be us telling a story, but I feel like it's a very slippery slope between telling them a story and indoctrinating them. For instance, right? When my dad was a kid, my dad grew up in the South, and he's seen Black people lynched. Like as a kid, he's seen that. Now he's just telling me a story from his childhood, but he doesn't know how that's going to make me feel about other ethnic groups growing up. And maybe he's not telling me the story for that purpose. He's just saying, hey, one time when I was a kid, I saw X, Y, Z, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing with relationships. Like I make it a big point not to tell my son things that have happened in relationships because I don't want him to be indoctrinated by my experiences and put that on him. Also because he's too young to understand the intricacies of those situations. But at the same time, I would, as harmful as it would be for him to not be aware of the things that women go through, I feel like it would be as harmful for him to go into situations feeling like I have to make her whole from the things that she has gone through. Because I'm a man and should feel some way about me because I'm a man.
But I think there's age appropriate conversations. I think you bring it to the level that your child is, but I think these conversations are important to have because, like we said earlier, if we're not telling them, they're gonna hear it somewhere else. They're gonna experience it, and then they're gonna have to come up with their own, which we want them to be able to. The hope as a parent is that we give them enough guidance that they can form the decisions on their own. So he can say, hey, I know these guys did that. This is just not what I'm looking for. And there's nothing wrong with that, not wanting to bear somebody else's burden. But I think we can't just assume, we can't shield our kids from stuff like that because I think that's doing more harm. I think for having them find out by their peers or by their first really bad experience with a woman who may have been abused, I think that's where as a parent, we should try to help them. And you do it where they are. He's 10. So you're not going to go into great details about your relationship. But I think discussing it is important because I believe that kids learn, and we all learned how to show up in relationships from what we saw growing up. Like for me, I know I saw a lot of very hyper independent women who just could take or leave men. And I know for years that was the role that I played. I didn't need a man. And we do learn that as a child. And so I think it's important for us to talk about relationships and these types of things with our kids.
Mm-hmm. KP, I know you're the only person on the panel that's childless. What do you? Let's say you were pregnant right now. Not you, but your significant other was pregnant. And she said it's going to be a boy. Y'all far along enough to know it's going to be a boy. What do you think that you would tell him about dating when he gets old enough? Now, keep in mind, this is you getting pregnant now in 2025, and the world being very much different in 2035 than it is right now.
Yeah, I would tell him to make sure that he treats every single woman that he comes across with the utmost respect. I would also tell him to never put his hand on a female. I would also tell him to make sure that I would tell him to make sure that he stands behind his woman instead of in front of her. I'm a firm believer in you stand behind your woman instead of standing in front of her. So that way he makes sure he can see everything in front of her. Everything that comes in her path, he can take care of it. So always tell him to treat her with the utmost respect, open doors.
But not both ways.
Nah, both ways is too much.
Okay, bonus points is us.
You said two today, not from the date.
He don't need the bonus points. He'd be a Perkins man. He don't need it. But yeah, I would just tell him to make sure he treats her with the utmost respect, man. You know, I'm a firm believer. I think that I treat like women I know on this podcast. It probably comes off a little crazy, but sometimes I'll be podding. But I treat every woman that I come across with the utmost respect. You'll never find a woman that says I've ever cussed them out. I've ever even cussed at them for the most part. You won't be able to find any ever. Now you may find some back in the day that say I may have cheated or something. All right, that was back in the day, long time before I even moved to Scottsdale. So other than that, you won't find some woman that says anything bad that I've ever done anything bad to them, said anything bad, cussed them out, treated them bad. You just won't find it. So I would definitely teach my son those same particular values for sure.
And when your son says, "Dad, have you ever cheated?" What would you say?
I was like, yeah, and I would tell him the story. My dad is like my best friend. I talk to my dad like he's my home, and that's the kind of relationship we have. I know he's my dad, but we have that personable relationship because I am personable. That's just how I am and how I talk to people in general. And I mean, if I crack something, I'll call my dad up, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, I would tell him that I cheated, back in the day, and I would tell him the story of what happened, and tell him to never do it. And I never cheated since then, by the way.
Have you been in a relationship since then?
Yeah.
Like a monogamous, committed relationship?
Yeah, I've been in a couple. Yep. I didn't cheat.
It's good.
I didn't want to.
You didn't want to because you saw the fallout, or you didn't want to because you were that into the woman?
Both. I
And
saw
his
myself down.
morals tightened up.
What?
I said, and your morals tightened up.
My morals have always been the same.
Nah.
Single Keenan.
I think you left them.
Single Keenan is a different Keenan than a relationship Keenan. That's what I think that should be with anyone. Like if you are single, like whether or not you are a man or a woman, if you're single and you want to have fun, whether or not that fun looks like doing a lot of cracking, or whether that fun looks like getting taken out to dinner and not doing a lot of cracking and getting taken to a lot of dinners. That's who's to say which way is wrong and which way is right.
But I think that there's a difference between I didn't cheat because no other woman caught my eye, and I didn't cheat because I wanted to, but I saw what happened the last time. Like two different things.
No, you can't say you want to. No, you can't. I don't think that's how you can look at it. I think you can look at it as in I didn't cheat because I was so into the female that I was with. Not only did I not cheat because I was so much into the female that I was with, I also, in my prior experience, saw something that's, hurt someone that scarred me, which is like the cherry on top of me being so into the female. It's not that I wanted to cheat. I was so into the female that I wasn't going to. I didn't want to. I don't think once a cheater, always a cheater. I don't believe that. I don't believe in that saying. I really don't.
Kadriana, do you agree with that?
I don't think once a cheater, always a cheater in the literal sense. I don't think, but I do think within your relationship, if you guys stick it out and somebody cheated, I think in the back of your head, they will always be that cheater. So I think in that sense, yes. But I think for me, the cheating shouldn't, I wouldn't want to see somebody hurt, but it's just, for me, it's a hard line stance because I feel that if you truly respect somebody, cheating's not even something you think about because you wouldn't want to hurt that person and, cheating's going to hurt them. So I think it should just be regardless of if you're newly dating or if there's somebody hotter that comes along, you just shouldn't. It should be something you shouldn't do.
But if the only thing that's keeping you from cheating is that the other person would be upset.
I don't think that's a good enough reason. That's definitely not a good enough reason. Because it just tells me you're only doing it to not hurt that person, not because you morally don't agree with cheating. Because say you stop caring about that person's feelings, are you going to cheat? So I don't think that's a good enough reason to not be a cheater.
Have you ever cheated?
Not really. I thought it was cheating, but it wasn't. Well, no, because I thought it was cheating. I was dating a guy. I broke up with him because I knew I was going to be going to, this is back when I lived the East Coast and we used to go to like the Jersey Shore. I knew I was going to be going to this party. There was a guy that I thought was attracted there. So I broke up with my boyfriend so that way I could guilt-free go to the party. And then a few weeks later, I got back together with said boyfriend. That was grimy. And to me, that was cheating-ish. I didn't cheat, but it was just as grimy.
Geneva said he didn't just cheat. It was like 5 women in the same day, right? No, it wasn't the same day. It was spread out over.
No, it was. No, two max one day, but it was like three girls.
Max, including your girlfriend, or is your girlfriend included in that too?
She's included in the 2. No, sometimes it would be 3.
See, yeah.
Sometimes it would be in the
3,
store
5.
with one. Sometimes it would be in the store with one, after work with another one, and then when I get home, sometimes after the shower.
To wash off the
That'll be like middle of the night rounds or early morning rounds with the last one. That was back in the day though. I was slinging that thing.
That's so bad. I hope none of those women see that.
I'm cool. And the crazy part is I'm cool with all of them still to this day.
Including girlfriend who cheated? Okay.
I haven't seen the girlfriend in God knows how long. Well, since I've been here, so it's been 11 years. So yeah. But I'm still cool with the 3 girls. Still to this day. They're all married with kids, but still, like, we're still cool. Still cool. Like, talk to them like often. Like, one of them is like my road dog.
But does her husband know? Like, oh, that's KP. Yeah, he banged me in the dressing room.
Oh, I'm sorry. That one that's my road dog is no longer married. But no, probably not. Her old husband.
Why?
The one that's no longer married. At the time, she was married.
While you guys were hooking up?
Yeah.
Oh.
You think? Were you the only person she was cheating on her with?
Yeah.
Because she said.
No,
allegedly.
No. You know how you know some Midwest girls that are just like you just know. You just know.
Because it took too much for you to crack. You like, I know it's not.
Nah, it didn't take a lot for me to
putting in this work.
It didn't take a lot for me to crack.
So what makes you think it took anyone else long?
Because I'm just saying.
That's what you're telling yourself.
No, I know. I'm not gonna say why. I know. Trust me, I know. These weren't your.
It's a muscle.
These were your homegrown Midwest women. Like, I mean, they weren't like farm girls. Like, no, they weren't.
But they're cheating on their husbands.
Right.
So like
they're already cheating with you.
Right. Something different. And once they get a lot of that something different, like I said, they're gonna keep coming back to that well. And I'm the only well that they were going to. Trust me. Trust me, I know. And that's not ego talking. I know. It's only 7 days in a week. And if we're working together 8 hours, 40 hours, I mean, and then trust me, I know.
That's you found time. You had a girl at home. Right. I'm just saying.
And she found time to sneak off.
Women are clever. We can do it too if we wanted to.
I'm not saying you're mistaken, but with this particular female, no, she wasn't. She was. Trust me, I was the only one she was clapping. Besides her, I don't even know she was clapping her husband. To be honest with you. Yeah.
Right. So then you don't know.
I do know. Trust me.
Geneva said, "Yeah, I don't know. That's diabolical. I wouldn't put stock on it if I was a betting woman. If no more cheating and a situation came his way, thoughts and prayers for a better you."
If I was a betting woman, if no more cheating,
she's not convinced that you wouldn't cheat if you were put in the right situation again.
I've been put in the right situation plenty of times when I had a girlfriend.
Geneva's just basically saying she's not convinced. She thinks.
Okay.
So then if you wouldn't cheat, how were you in those situations again?
No, when I don't even know what that situation means. Like I'm in a situation every time I walk out the door. If that's the case,
No. So I guess what Geneva's trying to say is if you did it before and you did it with such ease, she's not convinced that given the opportunity, old Keinon wouldn't surface.
well, the opportunity had. What do you mean? Going out by myself? Going out with the fellas? Gone to Vegas? What do you mean? Like those things have been
Like when
opportunities.
it comes to your job, you're spending a lot of time together. You have a girlfriend.
Yeah, nothing. No.
Sam said you were her third for the day.
Trust me, I know. That was back in the day, though. That was before I moved here. That was the Wild Boy.
So you calmed down once you got to Scottsdale.
Yeah, I can write a book. I can write a book about that story alone. That story alone is legendary. Legendary. No one's doing that. And I'm not trying to like brag, but no one's doing that.
Did you at any point before your girlfriend found out? Did you
She
have?
didn't find out. She didn't find out.
She didn't. So
No.
then, how did you? You said you saw her face, and that's what made you not want to cheat again.
No, she found out about something else.
Oh, another. Okay. You didn't feel guilty about the other ones before, like it never just ate at you when you were dressing room hopping.
No, if I'm being honest.
Damn.
No, I thought it was hot, so I was just like, it's, you know.
Geneva said, if you were in a closet with a hot woman and she started taking off her clothes, would you leave? If you were in a relationship, I know you like those closets.
I've never had sex in a closet before, though. That's crazy.
It was a stock room, Geneva, not a closet.
Yeah, it was a bathroom. The bathroom in the stock room.
You know,
No, in what situation would I be with a naked woman in a fitting room that's not my girl? Like what?
I mean, you got in. You were in that situation.
You were in that situation.
What are you talking about? Anything is possible with you.
No. You're talking about someone who we work together, and I don't work with anyone where I would be going. And even during the time that I was in a relationship, I was in retail, and no, I would have never. I learned my lesson from the
work
previous
trips, nothing. That's when it happened.
I've had plenty of work trips. Nothing. No app didn't download any apps or anything like that. Nothing. Nope. Okay. Just FaceTime. I learned my lesson.
Your girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. We're just checking. We're just trying to keep you an honest man.
I am. I mean, that was like I said. That was just I.
You were presented with an opportunity that you couldn't pass up.
And I love challenges. I love talking about things that happen in life. You know, that's even though it's a quote unquote negative, but it's something where I can be like, man, I was literally getting it in during the store hours in my store. Like, I don't care. Most females, if they were presented that, and they were attracted to said person, I'm pretty sure 9 times out of 10, the girl is probably going to do it. So you're saying, Kadriana, if a dude that you were super attracted to, you worked together, and he said, come in the back room, let's get it in. Wouldn't it be hot if I just bent you over for a couple minutes in the bathroom? And we go back to work.
You're asking for I play by the rules. I'm chicken shit for like and stuff like that. I'm the wrong one to ask that. Because I wouldn't be a good time. I'd be afraid of getting caught. I wouldn't be able to get into it.
It'd be whack. It would be whack.
But that's the whole point. That's the whole point. That's where the hotness comes into play.
Torian said, I think men, as we get older, change. Our mindset changes and we grow. Anyone who cheats has the ability to change, even KP.
I almost said something. Spoken like a true cheater. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I don't know. I don't think Torian's a cheater. But I mean, yeah. I mean, I think you can change your stripes. You know, as we do get older. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
I believe it.
Seriously, I don't have time to quote unquote cheat. If I like someone, if I like someone, I'm all about that particular person. I forgot who I was talking to the other day or last week, and we were having a conversation, and she said, that she was just dating for fun. Most men nowadays, especially if they're over 6 feet, they always have someone else. Even on the side, they're entertaining someone else. And I was like, well, if I like you, and if I genuinely F with you, I'm only gonna F with you. That's just me personally. But she doesn't see things that way.
See, and that sucks because that's what.
Do you think that's true?
No, I believe there are some people who just won't cheat. It's not their thing. They weren't raised like that, and I believe there are people who refuse.
No. Not
that
cheating.
They're entertaining somebody else. I don't agree.
That most men over 6 feet. If you're dating, like if you have another man, like if you're dating, you guys aren't serious. You guys are getting to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
She's under the belief that as you're getting to know each other, let's say it's a couple months in, 2 or 3 months in.
Now he may have some other options at the same time.
That you probably, because you are tall and because you probably have something else going on as well. Comparatively, not necessarily comparatively to men that are under 6 feet, but she's saying all men in general have that going on, but most men that are over 6 feet in particular, for sure, are probably entertaining someone else on the side.
I don't know. Why don't we ask you two? You guys are over 6 feet. Is this true?
I said no.
Were you, David? Did you entertain multiple women while you were getting to know some?
Yeah, for sure. Especially if I was on a date nap. If I was on a date nap, I mean, you're dating to find your person, right?
But for like 2 months into it, you're still entertaining multiple people?
2 months in with one person?
Yeah.
No, especially if we have been spending like a lot of time together and talking a lot, like the other people will fall off.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of attrition, right? I mean, and KP can attest to this, like being not just over 6 feet, because there are a lot of dudes who are over 6 feet, but being 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", and up in a environment where there are not a lot of guys like that, you do go through periods of time where you're talking to 2, 3, 4, 5 girls at once. Now, that's not to say you going out on dates with them. That's not to even say that you're being intimate with them. You could still only be being intimate with one. But if certain things had aligned, things might have worked out in other interactions too. But I think that I think it's kind of overstated, or maybe just hyperbole when she says, well, every guy over 6 feet has something else going on, because it comes down to a personal preference. right?
Oh, David.
When I got to the point where I wanted to find my person, I only had one option, right? And here she go.
Yeah, clean it up. Clean it up. We're in hot water.
David. So we ended up together because people fell off. I thought I was the only one. Looks like you'll be feeding yourself to the couch tonight.
That's funny.
She typed that before I finished talking. So, like I was saying, when I had decided that I was like seriously dating, I only had one person that I was talking to. But when I didn't really know and I was just kind of just seeing what's out there, just from the little stats you put in your dating app, you're going to attract lots of matches. You will. If me and KP had been out together in Scottsdale, and they will just, I'm not going to say they will flock to you. I'm not as braggadocious as KP, but you will not have any trouble meeting somebody pretty much anywhere you go. So I think that there's some truth to what she's saying, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of truth to what Torian said, is that as you get older, you mature and you don't put yourself in certain situations or you don't entertain certain things. Because as you get older, you realize certain things are just not for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can tell pretty early on in a conversation, like, nah, she's not my type. Once you get like 32, 35, 38, 40 years old, because you know it's going to be a waste of time. You already know how it's going to end. You may even hit once or twice. But at the end of the day, what is that? You know, just to say that you did it at 40 years old, it doesn't get you anything. So, but when you're 20, 22, 24, 25 years old, that's everything.
Yeah, because that flatters people. Some people need to feel good by having options. I think the older we get, like you said, we just kind of realize everybody's not going to be our cup of teas, and having a ton of options really isn't the flex we probably thought it was when we were in our 20s. It's just
right. Because you realize, like, especially like as a guy, the older you get, you appreciate, and you probably have heard a lot of people say this, you appreciate your peace so much more, right?
Yes.
You appreciate being able to leave your phone face up. You appreciate if you're with a girl and she says, hey, I left my phone in the car. Can I use yours? Yeah, here you go. You appreciate being able to rest at night knowing your phone's not going to go off at 2:00 at 2:30 in the morning. you appreciate, because you haven't put yourself in those situations, that you're not bringing certain things into your orbit.
Yeah.
And that's calming, right? But like I said, when you're 20, 25 years old, you keyed up all the time because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. So I think that there's, I can see it both ways, but the girl who said that probably also has to realize she got a lot of competition. So she's like, oh, every guy over 6 feet always got somebody on the side. Yeah, you got competition. You got competition.
What's Sam say? Old Scottsdale. Yeah, there. It's not like it used to be, Sam. It's not like it used to be.
I heard.
Definitely not. That's all good though.
Yeah.
About to go into the hellacious months now, so.
About to be 120 for 2 months straight.
Yep. It was 95 today. Hot, man. It's ridiculous. And in a loft, it's no joke because the ceilings are high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'll be sweating like a hoe in church.
All right, man. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up. KP, you got anything you want to say to the people before we get out?
Yo, good episode. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and appreciate those Sam, Torian, Geneva,
JoJo,
Amy,
Amy,
Jordan, Amy Joe. Appreciate you, Amy Joe. Appreciate you. Love you. Who else?
Kristen, Chevy.
Yeah, Kristen, Chevy. Yeah, appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys for chiming in.
Terry.
Yeah. Terry.
T. Riley.
Yep.
Kadriana, what you got for us?
Yeah, like you said, thank you everybody that joined the chat. We love when you guys do that. It keeps it fun. And don't forget to subscribe, follow all of us on social media, and yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Absolutely. Continue to like, subscribe, share. I love, even if we get one new person that pop in the chat a week, that's exciting for us, right? We got a new person in and they chiming in and active.
Mm-hmm.
We love that. So thank you guys for taking the time to watch. If you couldn't make the live show, you can catch us on YouTube. Those episodes are there as well. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. All the episodes are there as well, so you can listen on your way to work. You can listen while you're at work, on your way home from work. You can listen at the gym. You can catch us anytime, any place. And if you want to see our beautiful faces, YouTube, follow the Instagram page, follow us on social media. Don't be weird hopping on Kadriana's page though.
Please don't.
But with that, don't forget, like I said, like, subscribe, share. We didn't have the call-in link up this week. Something happened with Google Voice. I'm not sure what was going on with that, but it will be back next week. So we can't wait to see you guys next week. We're looking forward to it. Until then, check us out. We love you.
All right, good night.
Peace.